Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Hello and welcome to this episode of our program. This is Mike Saunders with Marketing Huddle, and today we're privileged to have with us Michael Coseglia, who is the founder and CEO at TRU Staffing Partners. Welcome to the program, Jared.
Thanks for having me, Mike. Excited to be here.
Hey, so what I wanted to do is reach out to some specific Inc. 5000 recipient winners from 2016 and just kind of do like a fireside chat or a mastermind and, kind of give us a little bit of background on what your company's about. And then, what are some of the things you've done over the years to, elevate your brand and your firm to be in that category of Inc. 5000. So first of all, congratulations. And then second, give us a little bit of a background of your firm and what you guys do.
Thank you. Yes, we are TRU Staffing Partners. I founded the company back in 2010, so we're just now celebrating our 7-year anniversary, which has been exciting, and we're so much bigger than when I started, which was a guy with a dream, a laptop, and a cell phone working out of his apartment. Now we're an Inc. 5000 company. We had never made the list before. It's our first time on the Inc., and we ranked 1,043. I think we're number 19 in human resource organizations. I attended the conference, which was really illuminating and enlightening, and actually has been a real kind of propellant for us doing a higher level of work as we do elevate our brand and get better about doing business with the clients that we service. So to give you a snapshot of what our company is all about, and then I'll take a step back and tell you a little bit more about me and how I got there. We do eDiscovery and cybersecurity, staffing, and talent management. So by most traditional standards, we're recruiters, but we really focus on these two niche verticals, and we have a vast network within that. I've been specifically in eDiscovery for a little over 13 years and in the cybersecurity space for a little under 3, but growing both very rapidly. And that focus in that space, I think, has led us to be able to be incredibly deep and wide within those verticals. And what makes us different is that we really know it. First of all, we're subject matter experts in those specific disciplines and are representing the people within those verticals, which are growing, rapidly growing verticals of opportunity for employment. With great nuance. Our style of representation here is also very different from what a lot of people traditionally think of as recruiting firms or staffing agencies, or headhunters is another fun word. Mm-hmm. That's my boxing code name, but that's a whole other conversation we'll have on another day.
Okay.
We're really, intimately involved in the lives of the people and professionals that we represent, and people that I've represented have worked with me for over a decade. We do really intimate prep calls before every interview with everybody we represent, which has made a really big impact on the lives of the individuals as well as the companies that we represent. We're also really committed to professional development, so we have a scholarship program. We have partnerships with Georgetown University and the Barbary Group in their ACEDS division, and a number of other SANS Institute in the cybersecurity space, and are helping get discounted or free training certification in the eDiscovery and cybersecurity disciplines, and are really committed to helping propel the careers of the people that we represent by doing so and getting that education to the marketplace, which no one had really done before, and no one had really helped steer people towards what kind of education do I need to elevate my career. So we're doing all of that, and that's probably what makes us different. I used to be in the theater business before I got into this space. I was a Broadway theater director for a little while, which sounds like it was neat, really glamorous life. But I fell in love with the eDiscovery community because the people in it are just so wonderful and very open-minded and very progressive, and working with technology and lawyers, and it's been really rewarding. And now we're a much larger company. We have 15 employees, and our real growth towards the Inc. list has been the increase, I think, not just in our verticals in eDiscovery and cybersecurity. I think we're demonstrative, a microcosm of the greater trends that are happening in the world today, which are people want a contract. people want to work on contract and be temporary employees. And the entire reason, it's no trade secret, the entire reason is that we are on the Inc. 5000 list is because we were able to offer our clients, which are major Fortune 1000, ALM Law 200, and consulting firm clients, a vast array and portfolio of contract talent that's available to parachute in and handle really complex matters and or security breaches. And we can talk a little bit about how security in particular, I think, is a word people are really comfortable with. eDiscovery is not so much, but when I say to people, oh, Clinton email scandal, they're like, oh. I'm like, that's eDiscovery, right? We got to collect all those documents. We got to go through, have eyeballs on all those documents and look at all of that stuff before the FBI puts out a report. And one of my clients was the technology that facilitated that entire process. And there's a lot of nuance that goes into that. It just hasn't become a colloquialism the way cybersecurity has. And you say that and everybody knows what you're talking about, which is one of the reasons why we've moved so aggressively into this space, is because that colloquialism has now moved things from a social consciousness to a corporate consciousness in a very aggressive fashion, and put a limelight on people that are servicing clients in that vertical. And we want to be experts at that.
Well, I want to touch or get deeper on eDiscovery in a second, but I want to comment on a couple things you mentioned, which I find really interesting for your space, because typically if you hear the phrase staffing or things like that, you think, click here, upload your resume, and your resume will be sent out, right? And you have taken the approach of subject matter expert and deep strategy calls. So where I love hearing that is you could be the career builder, the monster, the Indeed, where it's just like shotgun blast. I'm all things to all people. But what are you really doing? Are you really putting down roots? Are you really growing relationships? And are you really knowing the industry and being able to deal in these couple, verticals that you're in? You become that subject matter expert, and then now people want you to come in and speak to their organization saying, when you're ready to hire, here's some things to think about. You can make some really big mistakes if you hire this or this type of placement. But when you consider this or that, here's some things to look at. And now you're becoming that, what I like to call educator and advocate for your client, and they look at you much more than just some dude that has a staffing agency. They're looking at you like a trusted advisor. So have you seen some maybe even examples or case studies where maybe they've even commented on that, like, good gracious, Jared, there's a lot of people that just want me to, hire someone they shove my way, but you really are taking a unique approach, and I like that.
I appreciate the recognition of all that, and that's absolutely right. I mean, look, I named my company TRU Staffing Partners for a reason. The first 5 letters of the company spell TRUST, and if you can't build trust with people on both sides of the fence, whether they're clients or candidates, then you're going to fail. So that's the core of our entire brand. And as I said to you, I was a theater maker. I'm an artist at heart who became a businessman and was really gifted at both. And what the work we're doing here is an artistry. Interviewing is an artistry. It is not something that you can read a manual and do. It's not, here's the roadmap to interviewing well. It's nuanced both with the individual and with the company. And beyond the subject matter expertise, I think the artistry we're providing to the people we represent, both clients and candidates, is here's how to be better interviewers. Here's how to be better professionals. I mean, we live by, certain mottos here that we try to, extend to the people that we work with. Things like, we're here to make you your best you, right? We believe that, interviews are not you at your best impromptu self. Interviews are all about preparation. And, we have firm beliefs that, especially first-round interviews, regardless if it's eDiscovery or cybersecurity, everybody who interviews on a first-round interview is going to get asked some form of the same 5 questions every single time. And if you really know how to prepare for that, and then how to position yourself for the client, you've done a tremendous service to that candidate and for that client. A lot of people don't know how to interview. It's not like people go to school and take classes on here are the kind of questions that you should ask. It's not like human resource departments are helping coach people who were startups 2 years ago and $500,000 software companies and are now $50 million software companies 2-3 years later in our space, which happens all the time. Nobody's taught those people how to think about building human capital infrastructure or how to weigh skill set versus personality and character traits, and how to interview for both. So that's absolutely what makes us unique. And you're right, a lot of people are about volume. And I just think that the community that I'm in particular, but I think the other communities at large in the job search effort, I mean, you've seen the revenues and the stock prices of companies like Monster and to some extent others to rapidly decline and fold. And I think people want that white glove kind of service when it comes to their career. I mean, look, we have a big poster on my wall here that says, family work, right?
Yeah.
Work's pretty much under that, and you spend most of your time there, so why shouldn't it be treated with that kind of approach?
Well, and when your clients, who you have two sets of clients, I would suspect, the large firms you're looking to place people with, and then your clients looking to get placed. So you are serving both sides of that equation, but it's the same goal, which is, have you ever read the book by Bob Berg called The Go-Giver?
I have not.
If you're a book reader, you should check that one out. The Go-Giver, just Google it, and you can find it all over the place. And if you got it today, you'd have it read this weekend. It is a super fast read because it's written in a fun fictional story format, which teaches a business principle, and super, super strong principle of giving and serving first and becoming successful because of that attitude. Because if you are like the bellhop in the old movies where they drop your bag and hold out their hand, it's like, oh, here's your tip. But if you give and give and give and serve and serve and serve from that position of how can I better you, Mr. Client, on either side of your equation there, now all of a sudden it's like, that just feels right. So I love that your approach there. And the other aspect too is teaching your, people that you're looking to place the nuances of how to interview better and how to do this better, rather than just, oh yeah, here's this PDF, read it over.
That's right. I mean, to comment on the first part of what you said, I'm constantly preaching, and it does feel like preaching. It's an evangelism. It's a redirection of people's mental state, particularly on the interviewer side of things. To stop thinking about their job search, about what the company will do for them, and to really think about their job search about what can I do for the company and what kind of an impact can I make here? Because the odds are, if you find a place where you can go and make a really big impact, then you're going to get the things that you want out of the company. But if you go into the process and go into a job with expectations that this company is going to give me this for me, my career, my wallet, whatever it may be, you're going to wind up being disappointed 9 times out of 10. And I am constantly evangelizing that redirection of thought. And it's a hard thing for people to wrap their minds around because it's not the traditional way of thinking about I'm looking to move and therefore I want to make more money or be in this kind of a title or this kind of a role. But once you get that change in mindset, you interview better, you're humbler, you start to think about the kinds of questions that you want to ask and the information you need to gather on interviews as much as deliver in a different way. And we find that those people are generally getting the jobs faster, happier in their jobs, and more successful.
Yeah, because it's not just, can you tell me about the compensation package? Or from the other side, what can you contribute to this firm? And it's like, okay, we got to ask those kind of things, but let's not lead off with that, or let's not be the theme, the thread underneath the tone be only that. So I think that is just massive. I just love what you're doing. Let's now touch into, go a little bit deeper on the eDiscovery and how that relates to, your position in the industry, because I liked what I heard there too, which is you're thinking, it's kind of like, I think it was Wayne Gretzky that was famously quoted by saying, I skate to where the puck is going. So you're skating to where the puck is going in the industry of, this is not really the household phrase that we're hearing, but because it's now bubbling up, let's get ahead of this curve and be the, influencer in that industry.
I'm going to redirect that. It's kind of the opposite. I saw this coming 10 years ago, and it just hasn't turned into the social consciousness vernacularly the way cyber has. What you said that's absolutely accurate is that I'm chasing the puck. The puck is cybersecurity, And there's a tremendous overlap between cybersecurity and eDiscovery. And eDiscovery just stands for electronic evidence discovery. So, back in the mid-90s, we started having to collect hard drives instead of file folders from corporate, storage bins where they'd put a bunch of files and tax returns and data that they'd printed out from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Now it's all on file. So that creates all sorts of complexities and challenges, both on how people try to hide information as well as the ability to gather information, et cetera, et cetera. I saw that coming in the early 2000s and have been doing that. What started to happen, really most intimately around the Sony hacks, is this shift where cybersecurity is now a common household name, and the way people didn't understand eDiscovery in the early 2000s is the same way they don't understand eDiscovery right now. So that allows for two opportunities. One, there's going to be tremendous financial growth in those areas. When people don't understand something, they pay a lot of money until they do. And we saw that exactly happen in eDiscovery. So much so that it almost impeded justice. Part of the problem with the eDiscovery industry is that it was so expensive and so time-consuming that it was getting in the way of getting to justice. It was impeding people from having the financial ability to collect their documents and sort through them and look at them in a sufficient amount of time to get to the smoking gun. Now that's changed, and we've got advanced analytics and technology has evolved, but where there's great complexity is now in looking at all this data in cybersecurity as it relates to who's penetrating your system, what new things are hitting your IP and your network, where's their potential insider threat, where actors who are trading secrets between companies, how do we monitor that? How does that all tie into different regulatory and compliance concerns, privacy concerns as it relates to what data are we allowed to look at, not look at? Where can we host data in Europe versus Asia versus the US if we're a global company? All this complexity leads to a couple of things. It leads to jobs. It leads to high accelerating salaries within those jobs. When I was in the eDiscovery industry in 2002, we saw people were leaving jobs every 6 to 18 months and getting 30 to 40% increases in base salary as a result of that. Now, look, that might sound great. Well, no, not at all. Actually, it's stabilized, which is good, right? Because when people are moving jobs every 6 to 18 months, that's not good for their careers. If they're contractors, that's one thing. But if they're full-time, you're saying, okay, so this guy jumped ship to make another $30,000, and all of a sudden he's bloated his value in the marketplace. And after a few moves like that, doesn't have very many options, and maybe hasn't really gotten the training and skills necessary to command the salary that they're now at and want more as the market recalibrates. eDiscovery recalibrated when the economy collapsed in 2008. Pricing on things dropped because people just weren't willing to pay anymore. And you saw all of that affect the job market. We saw massive contract opportunity. There were all of a sudden people out of work that were never out of work before. The supply-demand balance equation was radically different than it was in the early 2000s, and it changed the market, some for the benefit of, others not for the benefit of. Generally, it's benefiting the end client who's paying the bill, the fortune client, who needs greater eDiscovery services. What's happened now is that I'm chasing the puck to cyber. And cyber is not something people understand. It's not something that's commoditized. It's not something that there's a lot of talent of. There's extremely high demand. I think Forbes said there was going to be 1.5 million cybersecurity jobs in the marketplace in 2017. And last year there was 1 million, which means it's increased by 50%. And of those jobs, only 1/3 of them will get filled. I'll give you another statistic that will blow your mind. There was something like 15,000 CISSP jobs out there that were requiring a CISSP certification, which is a cyber certification. And I don't even think there are that many, there's not even near that many people that have it in the market. So the high demand, low supply is absolutely why I got into eDiscovery. It's why we've moved into cyber, not just because there's opportunity for us as a business, but because people in that space are going to need the leadership that you just described about how to handle their human capital and how to handle their career and how to make smart, healthy choices about their hiring and their job moves so that they can sustain those careers long term. That's really where we're headed.
Well, we could talk, it sounds like, for hours and hours, because it sounds like if I wanted to have a subject matter expert speak on all of this, we place people too, and give us a call about that. But man, let me just tell you what I know. It sounds like that's the beautiful cohesiveness that you bring, which is the industry, and by the way, we place really good people with really good companies. And I think that's flipping the switch to that generic, fill in the blanks and upload your resume and let's throw it against the wall. So I think that just is such a spectacular way to do business. You mentioned a statistic, or the first statistic, which is X number of jobs are going to be out there and only, half get filled? Why would so low of a percentage get filled?
Because the talent's not available. There are a couple of things that lead to that, one of which is there are so many people in the federal government working at the CIA, the NSA, and the FBI who are the only people that have the kind of cybersecurity skill sets that are now applicable and desired by Fortune 1000 and ALM Law 200 companies, because that's where you got those skills in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. It's not a place where you see a lot of these professionals out in the private sector. So there's a huge matriculation from private to public, from public to private right now happening, which is going to change that job pool. Also, you're now starting to see universities in a much more aggressive fashion developing undergraduate degrees for cybersecurity and forensic technology. That will get an infusion of talent, but that takes time, right? That education and matriculation takes time. And it's very different than eDiscovery. eDiscovery, the talent didn't exist, so it had to grow organically. And it's taken 10, almost 15 years for that industry to maturate and commoditize and consolidate, which is what we're seeing in that industry. In the cyber side, it's a very fractured marketplace right now. There are a lot of disparate players. There's lots of consulting firms involved. How one corporation does things is very different than another, and all of that complexity and lack of standardization creates opportunity and nuance, and will need to pull people from both the high end coming out of the federal sector and the low end coming out of graduate departments who are looking for entry-level jobs. But to your point earlier about being a subject matter expert, if people are interested in this, I speak all the time, and on January 30th in New York City, I'm going to be giving a State of the Industry 2017 eDiscovery and Cybersecurity talk. It's completely open to the public. It'll be on in the AXA Event Center on 51st and 7th Avenue in New York from 6 to 8 p.m. on January 30th, and you can register on our website at TRUStaffingPartners.com. So if you're someone who's curious about getting into this vertical, or someone who thinks, man, I'm a company that needs some security help, or we're looking at potential litigation as it relates to eDiscovery, this is a great opportunity for you to come and get a much deeper, richer history of both the eDiscovery and cybersecurity industries as it specifically relates to jobs, careers, trends, salary statistics, geographic statistics. We're going to be providing all that information at this, what we're calling TED Talk style kind of presentation.
Well, I was just going to say, what's the best way for people to learn more? And you just gave that. So let's clarify the URL, TRUStaffingPartners.com, which is TRU Staffingpartners.com. Is that the best URL to learn more about your firm and this event coming up at the end of January?
100%. That is the best way to reach us. And you can always reach me directly at Jared, Jared, at TRUStaffingPartners.com.
Well, Jared, it's so wonderful getting to know you. I just love your energy and your passion, and I know that 2017 will be a banner year for you once again. So congratulations, and wish you all the best.
Mike, the feeling is more than mutual. Thank you so much for your time and interest, and this was a lot of fun. Thanks.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneursradio.com.